Hello, Brother Chad Long here from Delhi Baptist Church, and we've got a good one today. This one is worth waiting for. I know it's late. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get things back like they were before I got ill, but just bear with me. We'll get our schedule figured out directly. Hopefully today be the last day that you have to wait on these. But this one's worth waiting on. This is a good one. So if you have your Bibles, 1 Kings chapter 19 and verse 19. Now, we're going to call this one Burn the Ships. Let me share something with you before we read this passage. On February 19th, the year 1519, the Spanish explorer Hernan Cortez set sail for Mexico with an entourage of 11 ships, 13 horses, 110 sailors, 553 soldiers. Now keep that in perspective. Those 11 ships, those 110 sailors were divided among 11 ships because it takes sailors to sail ships. But in addition to the sailors were 553 soldiers and 13 horses. That's all on 11 ships. So just put that into perspective. The indigenous population upon his arrival, which would be the Aztecs and Incas of Mexico, the Indian peoples of Mexico, native Mexicans, I guess you could say, Native Americans. Anyway, the indigenous population upon his arrival was approximately 5 million people. From a purely mathematical standpoint, the odds were stacked against him by a ratio of, get this, 7,541 to 1. That just means they were greatly outnumbered. You've got just over 650 people, only 550 of which are even soldiers. And they're about to land on a beach in a nation where there's over 5 million indigenous people that they have that could be hostile. So just put that in perspective. By the way, 7,541 to 1 was that ratio I gave you. That means for every one man, there were 7,541 people to fight against that one man. You know, had they been all collectively assembled, which they weren't. 2 previous expeditions had failed even to establish a settlement in the New World. That means twice before they'd tried to send enough to start a colony, they had failed entirely. I'll call my wife back. So this is the situation. The 2 previous expeditions that had failed to even start a settlement there, but Cortez conquered much of the South American continent. What Cortez reportedly did right, that the others had done wrong, is when he landed, he issued an order that turned his mission into an all-or-nothing proposition. He said, burn the ships, all 11 of them. Now, I want you to picture this. You're a Spanish explorer or soldier. You're coming from Spain, you're going to Mexico. At that time, Mexico belonged to the Native Americans. When you land there, you are thousands of miles from home. You have only those people that went with you and the 11 ships that are your way back. And your commanding officer says upon arrival, burn the ships. There's no going back. That changes things, doesn't it? As his crew watched, their fleet of ships burned and sank. And they had to come to terms with the fact that retreat was no longer an option. If you can compartmentalize the moral conundrum of colonization, then there's a lesson to be learned here. In other words, Forget the fact of whether this was right or wrong. Obviously, we're not saying it's good to take a bunch of soldiers and go take over somebody else's land. That's not the point. The point is, in anything you intend to do, if you want to find success, you need to make it next to impossible to turn back and quit. If it's worth doing, you got to throw everything into it. 9 times out of 10, failure results because of a plan B and turning to it when plan A goes awry. When plan A gets too risky, too costly, or too difficult, most people just live in their plan B. And the reason is because they didn't burn the ships. But see, plan A people don't have a plan B. They burn the ships. So, more about that in a moment. 1 Kings 19, verse 19. So he departed thence. This is Elijah. This was Elijah. That's who it's talking about. But it says he departed thence and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him. And he with the 12th. Excuse me, okay, I read that wrong. He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, he with the 12th. And Elijah passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. Now, if I understand that right, and I don't know that I do, 12 yoke, and a yoke is 2. There's 24 oxen here. One man can't do all that. So I take it that he had some help, some servants, somebody helping him, and he was with the last group, probably so he could keep his eye on the other 11 and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Anyway, he's got 12 yoke of oxen. He's out there plowing. Elijah passes by him, cast his mantle upon him. His mantle was like some sort of a cloth, some sort of a coat or something that was an identifying garment of Elijah's. It meant something. It may not mean anything to us today, but it meant something to them then. It meant I want you to come and go with me and be my successor is what it meant. Verse 20, and he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, go back again, for what have I done to thee? Now I think Elijah's answer just meant, look, God told me to throw that thing on you. You do whatever you feel led to do. I'm not making you do anything. I love Elijah's answer, and I love Elisha's actions. Elisha comes and says, look, I'm ready to go. I will do what I need to do. But before I go, let me just say bye to the people I don't aim to see again. Because when I go, I'm going all in. Now this is beautiful. Watch this. Verse 21. He returned back from him, took a yoke of oxen, and slew them, and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him. Do you see what he just did? He didn't just kiss mom and daddy goodbye. I believe he did do those things. But he didn't just kiss them bye and say, all right, I'm headed out. I got to go. Oh, no. He took the utensils, the plowing equipment, whatever it took back then, and I don't know what they had 700-800 years before Christ, but whatever they had would have been primitive but effective to plow with. Harnesses and various tools that hook up the equipment and swap out the types of pieces you needed to plow with and cultivate with and cover with, and I don't even know. I've done lots of farm work, but I don't know what they had. The point is, he took his equipment and he burned it, and he, with the same fire, he killed and cooked the animals themselves and prepared a meal for all the servants and his parents, anybody else in the community that he was used to taking care of. He said goodbye to his old profession. He said, I'm getting out of the farming business, and to prevent me from quitting on God and looking back and saying, man, I got a farm back yonder. Farming was easier. I've got all this equipment. I got all these people that depend on me. I've got all of these things that I'm committed to. And when life gets hard and what God's called you to do, sometimes we're tempted to go back. Sometimes we're tempted to return. Well, Elisha wouldn't be tempted because he burned the ships. Okay, that was the point. Says he took a yoke of oxen, slew them, boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, and gave unto the people, and they did eat. And he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him. Now, I take it he didn't cook all the oxen. He cooked a yoke of them and the instruments attached to them. But the symbolism is the same. He gave them enough to eat and a sign to say, I'm through, I'm done, I'm out, I'm going. Much like Cortez, but with much better moral implications is the point. I want to finish because I'm going to go over, but there were a couple more thoughts in this I thought were really good. There are moments in life when we need to burn the ships to our past. We need to do so by making a defining decision that will eliminate the possibility of sailing back to the old world we left behind. You burn the ships named past failure and past success. You burn the ship named bad habit. You burn the ship named regret. You burn the ship named guilt. You burn the ship named my old way of life. That's what Elisha did. And that's what we must do. We've got to burn the ships, and we've got to aim ourselves toward what God has called us to do. I can tell you when I came here, there's some things that you might think that I held on to, but I didn't really. I committed to come here, and I'm here. And I love being here. The things that we may still have, my family, back there are not things that would ever draw me back there. They're just things to help us go forward. But if ever they were a hindrance, if ever they were, he didn't burn his parents. I mean, it's okay to have a reason to go back and visit. But we moved. We took all our stuff and moved. We committed to this place. And what I would ask you today is, where are you at? Have you committed to what God wants you to do? Are you all in? Have you burned the ships? Have you made it abundantly clear that no matter what the ratio is against you, you're going forward? I made God a promise, and I aim to keep this one because I've broken several promises to God in my youth. I've tried to make promises to Him that I have not kept, and I'm ashamed of that. But one promise I made to Him that I will die before I break is I will never, ever retreat. I will never turn my back on God. Never. I would rather die than turn my back on the God who created me, loved me, redeemed me, and helps me to make it through every day in this world, and who is going to spend eternity with me. I will never turn back. There are times when I will fall down. There are times when things won't go my way. There are times when I know that I'm going to be hurting, but I'm never going to quit. I'm never going back. I am never, ever, ever leaving God. I won't. I would rather crawl on my face towards Him than ever go backwards. I'll get knocked down and I'll have to get up, but I'll never go back. So where are you at? Are you ready to burn the ships? Are you ready to commit? Are you ready to truly give God everything? Are you ready to go all in? Or are you still living plan B? I hope for your sake and for the Lord's sake that we're aiming toward plan A, and that's God's plan, not our plan. You guys have a wonderful day. I'm sorry I went over, but like I said, this was a good one, and I wanted you to get it all. God bless you.